Namaskar. Friends, today we have a very special guest. And you know the guest from South Africa, the son of soil, Zolani Mkiva, who is a poet, who is a culture activist, actor, producer, and who is uh, who is acting as a imbongi. I hope it is a correct pronunciation. And this embongis are, I think, they are the people who are like a folk singers in India. And uh, then, uh, not only that, he was the person who sang Imbongi with the Mandela when Mandela came out of the jail. He was the singer who started the FIFA. So we welcome him. He was online, and because he is outside, so it will take time to enter. And our interviewer is Ashraf Abul Yazid, is a brilliant poet, journalist, novelist, and a friend of Kritya. So Ashraf,
Yes,
I
how are you?
I am good. I am good.
Nitya, how are you? That's good.
We are waiting for Mikva because Mkiva because I think he is losing the connection in between. So we by that time, shall I start a small film when where he has presented which he has presented in a FIFA. Yeah, here he is. Hello,
Oh,
hello,
wonderful.
Zolani is your wonderful poet, activist, and whatnot. You are a hero, superhero. So I welcome you, Zolani, in Kritya. Hello, can you hear me, Zolani? Can you listen to me? Can you hear sound? Hello.
I'm not sure. I can't hear you, but I can
Uh,
see that you are talking.
Okay, but your mic is on. Mic is on. Do you have this something like this which you can put in your mobile? Hearing ad or something? Sound? Yeah, he will come. By that time, he will see the film on FIFA. Okay.
Sekunjalo! Sekunjalo ma-Afrika mahle! Isizwe ngesizwe sehlabathi siyasondela kweli lizwe! Ixhego lijonge kude kwela hlobo! Makube njalo ke sikhumbule isithethe sethu khona ukuze silungise apho sinomanqele khona sithi sibhiyozela ubuntu bethu khona ukuze siphefumlelane ngendebe endala ethi umntu ngumntu ngabantu sijongene nesona sihika somnyadala mase sikhuthule njengabantu abanesisa nobunganga phambili
Uh, uh, hello. Uh,
Good
So
afternoon.
Zolani, I think now today is some problem. So you have to do some magic. So Ashraf is not seen now. Yes, Ashraf is here.
I
So
can see you.
Zolani, he is Ashraf from a Egyptian poet, journalist, writer, and a friend of Kritya. And he has come with some of the questions to you to know more about the African culture and tradition of poetry. because I have experienced that the wonderful poetry is coming from the land which was actually the land of civilization. The whole world has started from there. And we both people, Ashraf is also coming from a land of civilization, Egypt. And I'm also coming from the land of civilization, Indus Valley civilization. So we three are from the three civilizations. So we have some connection. So Ashraf, over to you. Please ask what you want to ask him.
Maybe in the meantime, let me appreciate from you, Rati, for having us on this very important program of Kritia. And greetings to you as well as greetings to Ashraf. I'm grateful
Yes,
to you.
yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Zolani, I'm very happy. Actually, I read a lot about you during this week, and whatever we are asking you, it is to introduce you to Richa viewers from everywhere. We have some sort of poets, artists, your field. You are a collection of talents and a collection of personalities. So at the beginning, we watched a little from FIFA film, but of course, this introduced one side of your character. And we need to know more about your other sides, like writing poetry. We will start by something very native for all of us and very close to the hearts of all of us, poetry. So we need to hear you. You are the son of the soil.
So
No,
first we will start with your poetry reading.
okay, let me start off by Son of the Soil.
Yeah, I have a translation of this poem
That's very
in
nice.
Hindi. I will read after you.
Okay, it goes as follows. I am the son of the soil, a brother to the daughters of the land. I do not have perfumed lips, but I can speak the truth. I do not have cat eyes, but I can see the true colors of the universe. I do not have a dog nose, but I can smell and distinguish between carbon monoxide and oxygen. I am the son of the soil, a brother to the daughters of the land. I do not have donkey ears, but I can hear what makes sense and what is a nuisance. I may not have a big heart, but I do have passion and love. Passion for my people, passion for my country, passion for the continent, and passion for the world over. I am the son of the soil. I may not have soft hands, but I can do my little bit and deliver my people from shame. Heartically, I am the son of the soil. Rootically, I am the brother to the daughters of the land. Son of the soil, son of the soil. Thank you so much.
I will like to read this in Hindi. Hindi is one of the languages from India, in India, and we have almost 30, more than 1,000 languages, but 28 to 30 official languages. So this is, I am reading your poem in Hindi translation. माटी का बेटा, मेरे ओठों पर खुशबू नहीं बल्कि सच्ची बोली है। मेरे पास बिल्ली की आंखें नहीं, लेकिन मुझे दुनिया के सारे अच्छे रंग दिखते हैं। मेरे कान गधे से नहीं है, लेकिन मुझे सही और गलत का फर्क मालूम पड़ता है। मेरे पास कुत्ते सी नाक नहीं है, लेकिन मैं कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड और ऑक्सीजन के अंतर को सूंघ सकता हूं। मेरे हाथ मुलायम नहीं है, लेकिन मैं अपने लोगों को शर्मिंदगी से बचा सकता हूं। मैं माटी का बेटा हूं, जैसे कि धरती की बेटियां होती हैं। मैं आजादी का सूत्र हूं, शांति का पुष्प केंद्र हूं, चेतना का पत्र द्रोण हूं, मानवता का पुष्प दल हूं, उन्नति का परागकण हूं, परागकोश हूं मैत्री युक्त परिणामों का। मैं समाज का सुदृढ़ दृढ़ सुदृढ़ दृढ़ स्तंभ हूं। मैं माटी का बेटा हूँ, मैं माटी का बेटा. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you so much. I think you have read it, and even though I did not understand the language, but I could still feel you because you read it with passion. Because as a poet, I think it was easier for you to do that reading of that translation. And I'm sure to the listener, it did not feel like a translation. It felt like an original poem.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Sure.
So
So
now,
I had wanted to agree to say that the civilizations from where both of us, all of us, we come from, have crossed each other and have influenced each other. And in my own DNA, and through the signature of your own pen and pencil, I can see a mirror wherein I am reflected. So do you. So you are, Ashraf. So I'm saying that our civilizations have learned from each other than just crossing each other. So I am saying that you will find that there are great commonalities between you in India and between you in Egypt. And we are the Nilotes, as many people say. So my ancestors drank from the waters of the Nile River. And I am sure that you, as Egyptians, you continue to drink from the Nile River. So I am saying, therefore, we have the same history, same experience, and similarities for that matter. You know, one day I was doing a poem entitled God Bless Africa. And I thought, Rati, as I was saying God Bless Africa, this poem would actually be very relevant as well for India. So you can read it as God Bless India. So the poem
sure.
says, there is no tomorrow without a yesterday. There is either no tonight without a yesternight. The bones of our ancestors are vibrating. The waves of our African oceans are reverberating, propagating gogabilities, the possibilities of flexibilities. A child was born some time ago, dissocialized and disorientated, bad-mannered and bad-natured. Today the child is born again. Today is the rebirth of Africa, ready to be issued with a new birthday certificate. The lotion for motion has been issued. Let us be the thinkers of the great thoughts. Let us be the doers of the great deeds. Achievement never yet was given to the people as a gift, but as a reward, bravely earned through enormous struggles. Africa is the mother continent. Africa is the continent of the future. Let us tell the whole world that we are the mother continent. Tell them that we are the continent of the future. Africa Maluju, Africa Harambe, Africa Uhuru.
Thank you very much. Now I will read this poem as a Indian poem. Now, Ashraf, do you have something?
No, I
Ashraf?
will listen to this lesson for the people, but we can hear the poem and we can continue later. We can hear the poem first.
Yeah, yeah. You can talk more. Uh, uh, what? Why your mic is not? Yes.
You
You
want me
can.
to
Yeah,
talk
you
more?
speak. What you are speaking is so interesting. So we need not ask any question. So you please keep
Oh,
speaking.
okay. Maybe to go back to the question that Ashraf asked.
Mm.
You know, Ashraf, I never went to school in order for me to study, to recite or write poetry. Poetry is in my bloodline. I inherited what I do to those who came before me. And oral traditional spiritual poetry is actually spontaneous. It is poetry that is not read necessarily as regular poetry. It is
I see.
poetry that responds to issues on the ground, to issues that take place in communities. And the oral traditional poet in the African society has an incredible license to say anything in any way to anyone without limitation. So many people say that we have a license to actually even to critique leadership. The most important thing is that as we do our poetry is that we are very constructive. in our approach. But at the same time, we don't buy faces. We call a spade, and we employ idiomatic expression in terms of how we communicate our message across. That idiomatic expression is enriched with metaphors which are embedded in our language, and which our language is pregnant with our culture, which our culture is our inheritance in the form of the heritage that has been transferred from previous generations to the current generation. And therefore, a poet in an African society is not just a wordsmith, but is someone who's a repository of knowledge, a community memory, social memory. And that memory is enriched with a heritage intelligence, traditional protocol, and the great amount of being a walking handbook, in the sense that you must be able to articulate the rites, the rituals, the customs, and you are able to interpret them for the current generation, but you're also a reservoir that preserves this knowledge so that you can pass it on to the next generation intact.
Yeah.
So you play a role as an African spiritual poet, as a go-between leadership and people. You are actually the voice of the voiceless. You voice issues of the masses of the people to the leadership, and you caution leadership when the leadership goes astray. So our role is that of a mediator, a go-between leadership, but also a voice and the mouthpiece of the community. So many people say a poet in the African sense would be that person who is a walking library, who is a community library, because you understand the history of that community, you understand the genealogy of the leadership, you also understand the lineage of the society from a point of view of understanding the clan names, the clans, the tribes, and the tradition.
Yeah, but you are talking about there was no school, I mean, no regular school, but you have another type of school, which is the family. I mean, the family gave you the opportunity to be what you are now.
Very important question. The family is the basic unit of society.
Yeah.
The family structure to us as Africans, and I believe is the same with the Indians, is that society starts at a family level. It is the foundational unit, is the foundational structure where everything is anchored. From the family, then you go to the community. From the community, you go to society and the world over. So the family is very key, because it is where all it begins and where it all ends. When the world turns against you, the only place you can go back to is your family. And the family doors are always open for you, because it is your point of origin, but it is also your point of destiny.
I am asking you, Mr. Zolani, about these awards you are getting from different places. You have got awards from South Africa as well as Germany, States, Uzbekistan. I mean, this is a credit for the poet, and this is a credit for the voice of Africa. Is it correct?
I hope I understood your question properly, because there was a little bit of turbulence there in the airwaves. But we have a value system of Ubuntu, which is a humanity or humaneness, which says you are because I am, and we are because we are all in it together. So in other words, at the center of humanity is the human spirit. Humane is the spirit of humaneness. No person lives like an island. We are connected to each other. So that value system of Ubuntu, I think as Africans, is something that we could use as a product that we can export to the world, for the world to learn from us. Because the issue of the common means of production and the common ownership of production is not a European phenomenon. It began here in Africa. But the European scholars understudied our system and then they wrote theories and ideologies based on our lifestyle, based on our outlook. Pythagoras' theory was taken from Egypt, and now we can know that the Greek philosophers came to the ancient Egypt and understudied the Egyptology, which was an advanced form of civilization, actually early civilization. But when they wrote those theories, today they are named after them. But they never acknowledge the source. So I'm saying that similarly to other theories, some of them have been tested, some of them have been badly applied, but some of those theories, you may find that they were actually poached from the African continent as well as India. Because as I said from the beginning, that there are commonalities and great commonalities between us and Indians. And it is for that reason that you will see a comparison between Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. Because the style of leadership, non-violence, negotiation, reconciliation, all of those matters are things that they are known of, and they form a part and parcel of their stripes in their leadership and their legacy. So I think that in Cuba, what they do, they export health diplomacy. What we can do as Africans is to export the spirit of humanity to the world and teach the world on how people can live together in unison without classifying each other, because racism has no space in our culture and our value system. You know, and we have tribes in Africa. The issue of tribalism has never been an issue until the colonialists came and used it to divide us. To us, we have got different cultural ramifications, and we are a united people who are united in diversity. The beauty of Africa is the diversity, not division.
Yes.
We are diverse, but not divided.
Yes. Yes, you are very true.
One thing I want to tell you, Zolani, I live in south of India, that is Kerala. Though I am not a Keralite, but I live there. And you know that the kind of presentations you have, the folk of Keralites has this almost same kind of, the same colorful, this head gears and colorful mask, and the healing by the poetry and singing and dancing, that was actually traditionally. Now it is disappearing. It is not becoming, it is becoming very professional. But I see the African poets, and I feel that you're still son of soil. You're still connected. So
Yes.
how it is?
Well, I think we need to do everything we can to put together resources, financial resources, and all other forms of resources that we can think of, to ensure that we preserve, we conserve, and promote our heritage. Because the beauty of heritage is that there is intelligence and wisdom that is entailed in it. In Africa, we speak of the indigenous knowledge system, and this system remains unexplored in the sense of being with its full potential. So therefore, we cannot afford not to do something about it. So I think that we need to protect it, we need to preserve it, and we should use even technology, including the fourth and the fifth industrial technology. We need to digitize it. We need to ensure that in the budgets of our government, that the arts and culture fraternity, as well as the heritage landscape, pays particular attention in the preservation of culture and heritage. Because if we negate it, then we will be killing some of the uniqueness and antiquities which do not belong to us as the current generation, but belongs to the future generation. What we have inherited from our forefathers, we need to harness it, we need to preserve it, we need to grow it, and we need to ensure that when time comes for us to hand it over, we hand it in a manner that it is still in good tact. So we would have failed future generations if we don't pay attention to that. So for me, I think if we apply ourselves properly, and this is the advice that we can give to our leaders, that when all is said and done, what is most important is what we will leave behind. And future generations will say, what did that generation do about these matters? So many scholars will talk about that each generation has got its role and mission. Our mission is to ensure that we preserve our heritage. We ensure that the dying practices and the disappearing sounds and rhythm and beats are protected in a manner that they must not be defaced in the surface of the earth.
Ashraf, you want to ask? Please.
Yes, I want to ask one thing. You are talking about some sort of visions and rules. And I think your production, your musical production, these CDs I found on internet, it is this kind of mission you are doing. You are preserving music, you are preserving words for to be digitized on CD. Tell us about this project, this production project.
Well, first and foremost, in South Africa, we have got 11 official languages, and 9 of those languages are indigenous languages. These are languages that have got thousands and thousands of years old. And that is a huge victory for indigenous communities. So, like I have already said, the way that I have done it in the last 30 years, I have been recording my poetry together with music. And for me, that is just one dimension of my contribution as an individual. But I think what I have done, I've managed to inspire others not to be shy to have this kind of talent and put it into the mainstream by way of recording it. My poetry and my music is not commercial music, it's heritage music. When I started doing this work, I never thought that my poetry would be studied in schools, let alone universities. Today, there are professors who have written PhDs and theses, wherein they are reviewing my presentations, but also my recordings, and they make it into studies. So that is my humble contribution, and I believe that this is what we can all do in our respective communities to ensure that we preserve that which is very important and it matters most. Because in this poetry, I have got my own composition, but my poetry is done in the framework of a particular culture. It is informed by my cultural background. And I therefore speak and convey royal messages of my ancestors, both the past ancestors, but also the future ancestors, if you know what I'm talking about spiritually. So I will continue therefore to record in the form of the CDs, DVDs, and I will also publish books. I'll continue to do that. And I now publish both in my native language, which is Xhosa, but I also publish in English because through traveling extensively and attending a series of international poetry festivals and presenting lectures in universities across the globe, I have learned to know English and understand it a little bit, but English is not part and parcel of my culture. But at least now I have a tip of an iceberg in terms of understanding it, that I can communicate a message across and it could be heard by a listener. But I am more articulate and comfortable when I speak in my mother tongue, because I think my intelligence and my intellect is more embedded in my mother tongue, in my native language, and I'm more comfortable. So when I write in my mother tongue, and then I get translated into English, then I get translated from English to Russian to Indian, and so on and so forth. I've been translated already to more than 25 languages across the globe, which is phenomenal because I never thought that coming from a rural background in the middle of nowhere, in the hinterland of my country, that my language could be elevated to a point where in the University of Moscow, they would interrogate my work, which originates from Xhosa.
Yeah.
What is the name of your language?
My language is Xhosa.
I couldn't understand.
It's Xhosa.
Xhosa. Okay.
Xhosa. Xhosa.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's one of the
Oh,
official South
you are
African.
with the preparation. Very good. South Africa.
That's
Good.
it,
He is a very good
This
planner.
is,
yeah.
Uh, you know about the language,
no,
Ashraf?
actually, I will give us the chance to listen to Zolani in his own language. I
In
want
my
him
own
Yeah.
to
language,
perform
my
something.
language is a clicking language, but you click in the main when you do poetry. For instance, I'll make two examples.
Yes.
Oh.
So there you speak in cues. So you use the cues
Ah,
and you knit a sentence by using the cues. Hence, it sounds like musical.
like wave.
Or you use X, or besingamaxhaphethu zinxiba mxhaka kuxoxwa ngengxoxo evuya amagxagxa kuba ebesixhaphaza inxubile umzi kaXhosa kuba ubuxhatshazwa. That is our language, and it has a beautiful rhythm. It is musical. It has a melody, and we can't afford to negate it. We are happy that it is a protected language, but it is also a language where you can even pursue academic work with it. So today we've got people who have written their manuscripts in this language, and we have graduates at a PhD level who had pursued their thesis employing the very language. So we are over the moon. We think that such practice should be replicated across the length and the breadth of Africa. You know, if you look at what the Egyptians have done with their civilization and the continued work that is being done there by archaeologists, anthropologists, it shows the brilliance, and therefore there's still a lot that we must learn from each other. So in that way, culture, it is through culture that Egypt has managed to achieve what it achieved. Without that structure and that advancement in the thinking of their own community and society, they would not be where they are, because tall buildings were first built there. If you go to Egypt, if you go to Mali, the Timbuktu, look at the architectural, works that are there, and look at the age at which these things were done. So there's a lot that has not been explored. In South Africa, we've got the cradle of humankind. It's something that, again, that has not been fully explored. And the great potential that if people were to come this direction and conduct a study, if you were to bring in here spiritual intelligentsia, to come and have a great feeling, touch and feel, there's a lot that can come out of that. It's not only an academic exercise that needs to be done in order to achieve these things. You also need an organic approach to issues. You need barefoot professors, spiritual titans, to interact with the space, to have a greater understanding of spiritual spaces, heritage sites, and all of that. If you go to Europe, Europe has got a great amount of international declared heritage sites. In Africa, there are fewer. There's few international heritage sites which have been declared by UNESCO. It's because of the academic approach to issues. So I'm saying that the world needs to balance between the work that is done by people like me, who are spiritual heritage practitioners, who are organic intellectuals. I will ask you to go and read some books by Credo Mutwa. He's a phenomenal gentleman. What he has written at a time when he wrote it, you would be amazed that something of that magnitude could come from the hinterland of the southern hemisphere. So I'm trying to emphasize the point that this world needs a balance between science and spirituality. Science alone will not achieve the things that we ought to do as humanity. Science is at its best when it is coupled with spirituality. And then this world will be something that will be phenomenal.
Mr. Zolani, viewers are also from Arabs. So listen to you in English, in Hindi from Rad Saxena, and I will read your poem, The Son of the Soil, in Arabic.
Wow, very good.
Shukran.
Welcome. ليس لدي شفاه معطرة لكني أقول الحقيقة. ليس لدي عيون قط لكني أستطيع رؤية الألوان الحقيقية للكون. ليس لدي أذن حمار ولكن يمكنني أن أسمع ما هو منطقي وما هو مزعج. ليس لدي أنف كلب لكن يمكنني الشم وأن أميز بين أول أكسيد الكربوهيدرات والأكسجين. ليس لدي قلب كبير ولكن لدي شغفا بالحياة وبالحب وأحب الناس. ليس لدي يد ناعمة لكن يمكنني أن أنقذ شعبي من العار. أنا ابن التراب مثل بنات الأرض. أنا خيوط الحرية. أنا مطرقة السلام. أنا كأس الوعي. أنا بتلات زهرة قضية الشعوب. أنا حبوب اللقاح الرخاء. أنا آخر الحلول الودية. أنا أصل مجتمعنا. أنا ابن التربة. أنا ابن الأرض.
Shukran. Thank you so much.
Now we will translate this poem in many languages and make a this one video out with this poem.
That would be so beautiful. In fact, I'm not sure. Araf, are you with us in the world poetry movement?
Yes,
I am
yes.
a founder. Who? Ashraf.
Maybe I met you in Medellin sometime
No,
back.
you may not. I didn't go, but Rafi went twice.
Three times.
been there three-
I am a founder member of World Poetry Movement. One of the founder member. In
Okay.
2011, I was there, and that time only they have started World Poetry Movement, and I was selected one of the founder members.
But I went to South Africa, and you know, I went inside the house of Nelson Mandela. I went to Robben Island, where he was jailed for that long time, to his museums. It was a wonderful visit to South Africa.
Okay. No, I'll get your details from Rati. But this has been a wonderful interaction, Rati. I must say that I wish you will also share the recording.
Yeah, I will
Yes.
share one recording. Before I share one recording, FIFA, second recording I'm going to share. I have a small question. I think Ashraf also wants to know that. What is your healing poetry? Because your presentation is so powerful, and how it works, and what is the aim of it? Please.
Look, Rati, very simple. Even a medical doctor, with his attitude and with his presence, can heal a patient just with that personal interaction. So words do heal. The words are the most powerful healing therapy. The therapy of poetry is an outstanding therapy in terms of being distinguished for centuries ago. Beautiful poetry has healed many people, and our poetry in particular is spiritual poetry because we heal people, we touch people in their hearts, we touch people in their nerves, we touch people in their veins with the words that we speak. You could feel something from the stomach that this one is a medicine of a highest level. So it's difficult to explain it. It's inexplicable, but I'm simplifying it that poetically, with that idiomatic expression, you are able to heal people literally. You are also able to heal people figuratively. I'm not just talking about advisor, but you can feed people. You can give words to people that would fill their stomach, if you like.
Uh,
So people will go to an event, but by just hearing your rendition or your recital, they would feel a great sense that they went to this ceremony and they were fed to the extent that they don't have a sense of that they did not eat the actual food. So I'm saying that poetry is spiritual, and it is not only something that comes out of Africa, it comes from India. You've got many poets that also have
yes.
not realized that they are actually poets. But in terms of what they do and the way they do it, it is poetical. And they have, over decades, they have been healing people without them realizing that they are actually poets than being spiritual leaders. So there's a deep sense of healing exercise that when we present our poetry, we're actually healing the people of the world with a poetical poetry therapy, as I would put it. Ashraf,
Zolani,
I think you.
Zolani, I want to tell you that I think I have not shared my book with you. Recently, I have written a book. I took almost 3-4 years to write. A Fist Which Opens, Poetry Therapy from Distance Past to Present Future. And unfortunately, I did not meet you while writing the book. I have many case histories. Even the Mediterranean Poetry Festival is also there, and I have tried to learn about the African poetic healing poetry. But I could not take your interview. And Ashraf is a beta reader and critic of that book. So that actually in our as you said that we have a Veda, Atharva Veda, the fourth book, the fourth most important book is mostly healing, handling the poetry therapy. That they are treating the diseases along with poetry, maybe some medicines along with poetry. So, Ashraf, you want to say something?
Yes,
Ashraf?
if you are in a hurry, we want to wish you the best, and we want you to give a message to our viewers. Just a message to our viewers,
Message show?
Our
to the
viewers, our
viewers.
audience.
Well, the message that I will leave with our viewers is that in the majority of cases, you find that the poets are taken for granted. Only exceptional poets that people honor simply because of their status in society. But I want to say that every poet is a poet because of a calling, and that calling is a divine calling. We must never take for granted the talent that we have in our respective communities. It is important that even without honoring them, but let's listen to them, because the voice of the poet is the voice of society. If society can't listen to the poet, that society is doomed. So I'm saying that poetry is at the center stage of humanity. It is the poets that have developed the languages that we speak in our respective communities. If you go to England, it will be Shakespeare. If you go to Russia, it will be Alexander Pushkin. So the list is endless. I'm saying the role of poetry of the 17th century is still the role of that poet in this 21st century. It is important that we listen to the voice of the poetry, and all the efforts that we are making at the level of the world poetry movement are not efforts that are useless. I think we must relent. I think we must be selfless. And I think we must continue to sacrifice, because what we do it because of passion. We've got the will, and the will that we have is the will of our ancestors. And I'm talking about not the past ancestors, but the future ancestors. Remember that this world does not belong to us. This world belongs to our children and our great-grandchildren. And therefore, it is important that when we leave this world, we must leave it intact so that our children can inherit a world that is healed, a world that is united. We are one human family. And I think the coronavirus has taught us one thing, that all of us as humanity, we can be isolated by just one virus called corona. If it takes one virus to unite a people, I think people must learn good and great lessons on what has happened in 2020, that we are one human family. And it is important that we get closer to each other, to hold hands together, to work together, to ensure that we heal the world together for the benefit of all our people. No country is an island. We are all human race. And let's do away with racism. Let's do away with xenophobia. Let's do away with tribalism. Let's do away with discrimination on the basis of class in our society. We actually need a classless society, a society where it must educate its people, a society where we must know that education is not a privilege but a right. Education is an instrument of social transformation. All the children of the world must be given their right of being empowered by education. I think that's what I will leave you with, to say that the education structure may not necessarily be relevant, but let's take what we have and get the master of art until we get the relevant type of education for our respective societies. But I think a new form of syllabus is required flowing from 2020 and the outbreak of coronavirus. We need to change our ways. When we talk about replenishing and reprioritization, all of these things that people talk about, refocusing, the international finance system must talk to one single family in the globe. Mustn't have a finance system that disadvantages others and that advantages others over others. It becomes unfair. You know the state of affairs in Africa, and yet Africa is endowed with the riches that it has, but it remains in a state of squalor. It can't be acceptable. Those are the matters that we need to look at going forward, because if England is rich because of the material resources of South Africa and Africa in general, if Belgium is rich and France is rich because of the continued extraction of the mineral wealth into their countries, but they leave big holes in Africa, and they leave a state of affairs which is quite very ugly in terms of scenery. It's eyesore. see poor people in a country where you say it's rich with diamond and gold doesn't make sense. It's time for the world to change. It's time for the world to put justice at the center and fairness and ensure that as human people, we are all deserving a better life. I therefore wish to say, let's have a better life for all. Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Really
thank you,
appreciate this.
Zolani. You are a really great speaker, and we will end. You can go ahead for your meeting. We will end with this Corona poem only. We have taken the Corona poem. So thanks. Ashraf will be here, and I know that you want to go for another meeting. So thanks a lot. You have given your valuable time to Kritya, and we are also working for poetry therapy with you. Kritya also does the same thing. So thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much
And
for the
love to
opportunity. Much
Africa.
appreciated. Shukran.
Shukran.
Thank
Ashraf,
you.
you are
Bye-bye.
here. Bye bye.
Yes.
Bye bye.
nasisitaba khushelo sidweshana nezidwangube nakumqodiso mlisela nomthinjana kwekho yahlintshekele kwihlabathi liphela pawu kukufa kufunjiwe isizekabani siseziko le ingxaki ifuna ubulumko le ingcingqongo ifuna ubulali le imeko ifuna imanyano yabanyatheli bonke behlabathi sithi khosi kule coronavirus sithi khosi kule covid-19 sithi khosi kule khokho sithi khosi kule khovofo ngiyacabagusha.
So it was very nice, Ashraf.
Yes,
We
yes,
enjoyed a lot.
I like it. Yes,
Very
very
much.
much,
He's a
very
very
much.
good
And
speaker.
of course, you know, his career is so rich that we could cover many episodes about him only because he participated in many events, and these few minutes give us the power to know more about him and the gate to enter and know more about him and his philosophy. You know, he has been awarded from different places, and that is to credit to the poet and to the poetry. Actually, you know, being a poet, it is a credit for human being. And he said that there is no society, good society, without poetry and without poets.
If you want to talk about him little bit, because he didn't have he gave me only 20 minutes, but I asked 50 minutes, and he finished in 50 minutes. So I know you have worked a lot, so we have little time. If you want to talk about this and tell something more, please go ahead.
You know, his career is so connected to Nelson Mandela. Actually, he was there to sing for him, and when Nelson Mandela was, you know, in the ceremony to be the president of South Africa, he was also there. He is keen to show himself with Mandela because Mandela actually give us an example of the person he wants African to be. He is not only the person as, or the character of Nelson Mandela, but the example of Nelson Mandela. So he was saluting that example, and he wanted, as he mentioned, that the humble and non-violence of Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. This is the example he is seeking for, and he wanted us to rediscover the heritage of our roots, which is very important. And also, you know, he acts like let us say, a factor in the society. He is not writing poetry for his own enjoyment. He is writing poetry for issues and for cases to help society to make his rule in uniting families together and make some sort of reconciliations between others, and he wants poetry to discuss issues like Corona in the last poem you showed. And I asked him about the school, the real school, because he didn't want to regular schools, but his family was a school, which is very important. And I know societies are collapsing when they are forgetting the rule of families, when they are attacking the rule of family. Family is a pillar of a good society. A good family is a good society. A healthy family is a healthy society. This is very important. Uh, you know, this HRH, this is the foundation uh, he established for keeping heritage. And this is also a message to poets, not only to write poetry, but to do something for their society. He is an ambassador for his heritage, an ambassador for his own language, an ambassador for the art of poetry. So being a poetry is good. It is good to have a poet in the family reading love poets, poems, and so. But it is good also to have a poet who has a role in society, which is very important. And our guest was an example of that person.
Thank you. You have given a very good information about Zolani. People who do not know, I think today we have less guests, but anyway, some people will see afterward. So actually, he is the most important poet in this time because he is not only poet, he is working taking the poetry to the humanity, and he is saying that poetry is not for selfness or self pleasure, it is for the society. And that's what you're also doing, Ashraf, for a long time, because you are helping Kritya selflessly, doing many making many records and all. So
It is for society.
and you're also doing, Ashraf. So shall I do one thing that I stop? At the end, I show again his FIFA presentation. That was a
Yeah,
wonderful.
to
And
end
then
with.
we will end this, na?
Yeah, we end
Okay.
it complete and end with it. Yes.
Thank you very much.
sekunjalo sekunjalo maafrika mahle izizwe ngezizwe zehlabathi ziyasondela kweli lizwe icekwa lijonge kude kwela hlobo makube njalo ke sikhumbule isithethe sethu khona ukuze silungise apho sinamanqele khona sithi sibhiyozela ubuntu bethu khona ukuze siphefumlelane ngendebe endala ethi umntu ngumntu ngabantu sijongene nesona sihika samnyadala masesikhunjule njengabantu abanesisa nobunganga phambili
So I asked people who will see now and afterward that please subscribe Kritya Poetry Movement. We are coming with many beautiful programs around the world with where we get the knowledge, information, and we can learn about the different society. As he says that now we know that whole world is one because in one virus has taught us that word is one. You cannot separate yourself. So thanks a lot, Ashraf. Thanks a lot,
Thank
Shukran. Again, I will say that you are all the part of Kritya, and we will be bringing beautiful programs continuously. So thanks a lot. Now we will go ahead.